We're talking about Power Teaching's 5 classroom rules. We discussed how to use Rule 1, follow directions quickly for your kids to have a lot of fun and really speed up classroom routines that seem like they take forever. Now, let's talk about Rule 2, raise your hand for permission to speak. Rule 2, if you could master Rule 2 and get your kids to raise their hands for permission to speak, that would be incredible. It's probably the single most difficult classroom management problem, not just in the United States, but in the whole world. Here's how we do it in Power Teaching, and we've had a lot of luck. Now remember, your students have practiced the rules, they've practiced the gestures, it's gotten automatic, they know the rules. They're just not following Rule 2. They're just talking, they're not raising their hand. Here's what you do. You pick a kid who's kind of a nice, jokey kid who you know will go along with you and say, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend to talk, and then I want you to just interrupt me. It's okay, you interrupt me. We're going to practice breaking Rule 2. Yeah. So then you say, yada, 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 yada. You point at the student, they interrupt you. You say, good job of interrupting me. Now in the future, when I'm talking or someone else is talking and I see that Rule 2 is being broken, I'm just going to say, Rule 2. And I want all my students to say, Rule 2, raise your hand for permission to speak. And if you kids say, raise your hand for permission to speak when I say Rule 2, well, you might just get a reward on the scoreboard. Remember, we're going to talk about the scoreboard later. It's really important. So see the beauty of this. Usually, when kids are not raising their hand, that's a disruption. But now, you're using a disruption as a cue to engage your students in thinking about Rule 2. Kids love to correct other kids. So whenever you want to, when you have a disruption, somebody's talking to each other, you just say, Rule 2. And kids will say really, really fast, they'll say, Rule 2, raise your hand for permission to speak. And then, instead of you against the kids, it's you and the kids together. Rule 2. Oh, that's Rule 4. Rule 2, raise your hand for permission to speak. It's beautiful.